They will also require an EIA to conduct a health impact assessment, which means that cancer risk, for example, is estimated what is the risk, meaning what is the chance that somebody is going to suddenly, if before the development, the chance of getting cancer for a population nearby the development is 1 in 10 billion, does the proposed development increase that risk? Is it going to be suddenly 1 in 10,000? So this is based on the concentration that increase, concentration of some health parameters that increases as a result of the proposed development. And finally, an environmental management plan is a document that has to be put together in order to specify what kind of monitoring of parameters and what kind of measures that needs to be in place. So this is kind of all of the mitigation measures specified clearly to make sure that people who are on site during the construction, during the operations of the project will continue to carry forward all of the proposal that has been outlined based on the EIA assessment. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand the EIA process. I don't have any more to add. Feel free to really study through the materials. I don't guarantee that this is an exact a good sample that has been approved. So they might have gone through multiple iterations based on DOE comments. They will also have the Marine Department commenting on this is a proposing Kuala Langat. Probably the Marine will not be involved. So there will be different institutions commenting on the EIA itself and highlighting any parts of the potential impact that the document has failed to address. So there could have been revisions to this document. And we are left this afternoon up so that we have everything in place. Alright. Nanti apa-apa all your test results I will. Bye.
Thank you.
4th year maybe. Welcome. Hope to see you in the 4th year maybe.
We are hoping to see you.
Maybe at UPM. Bye.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. Have a nice day, Doctor.
Bye. All the best.
Thank you, Doctor. Have a nice day.
Okay. Group 4. This is group 4, group 7, group 4. Okay, that's good. So I've got everyone's. So feel free to visit your friends' link and learn from what they found, because what they extract is not necessarily the same as what you extracted, but I see a lot of commonalities, which is great. You're all referring to the same references, so why not? So hopefully you've learned through an EIA, environmental, the national mission. Guys, in some of the groups. They're predefined in the national physical plan. So it's not just a generic definition of what are sensitive areas. There are very specific definitions, and you can refer to the national physical plans to find out what these are. I think one of the group even posted a figure of what this is. Which group was this? I think it was group 6 ke? Yang ada banyak gambar cantik. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one. Is it this one? So there's even a figure here of a map of environmentally sensitive areas. I'm not sure where you got this from. Is there a reference? But it does look like it's based on the right document, because there are ranks 1, 2, 3. There are different classes of environmentally sensitive areas. So it's not just a generic definition, so be aware of that. What are prescribed activities for EIA? So most of you got this right. These are the activities that EIA says you have to complete an EIA if your activities falls under this category. And for you to look where you find this activity list is in the schedule 1 and 2 inside the document. Yes, this is one. You can look here. This is, for example, the list of prescribed activities. For general, yes, EIA. And then there is also another, this is appendix 2 in this document. And there's also another schedule, which is in appendix 4, that specify all of the activities that requires a detailed EIA. So there's two, you've learned that there are two types of EIA based on the procedure. There's a preliminary EIA and there's a detailed EIA. Most activities that falls under the first schedule that I showed you, for example, if the construction of coastal resort facilities or hotels has more than 80 rooms, then you have to conduct a preliminary EIA. And then if this is found to have significant impact, then you have to conduct a detailed EIA. But for some activities, you don't have, there's no quantum, there's no size. As long as you are that activity, you already automatically have to implement a detailed EIA. So this is listed in appendix 4. Sorry, I'm scrolling up and down. Which are iron and steel industry, pulp and paper mill, cement plant. So if you look at this, it can be a very, very tiny pulp and paper mill, but because it is a pulp and paper mill, you will require a detailed EIA. The reason for this is because of the known environmental impact of such activities. That's probably the likelihood of producing significant impact is already very, very high, and you don't need a preliminary EIA to determine that. Okay, the term of reference, and most of you got this right. Also, is a document that outlines the scope of your EIA. So this is something that the consultant produces and then submit first to the DOE and for consultation, making sure that what they propose to cover in the upcoming EIA is agreed by the DOE. That way, you don't waste your time on embarking on too much or too little, and then finding out later that you didn't do enough in your EIA. It's kind of like you sending a draft of your settled year belum. Macam later you do your FYP, you send a draft of you send a proposal of your FYP to get examined first. So this is my objective, this is my methodology, this is my expected conclusion. So this is what the term of reference is. It represents a proposal for the scope or the boundaries of the EIA that you're going to conduct. Who approves? Wait, I'm skipping my stuff. Who approves an EIA? So there is some of you actually did not get this right, although most of you did. The people who approve an EIA is the DOE. So only after DOE approves an EIA, then the other authorities, either local, regional, or statewide, or federal, who are responsible depending on the type of development it is, can approve it. So once DOE approved the EIA, the local authority can approve. The development itself is not approved by the DOE. Only the EIA is approved by the DOE. So there's kind of a separation of tasks there, and it's a sequential approval process. The only thing that I wanted to highlight was probably also we learned about this. The difference between a preliminary and detailed EIA is that in the detailed EIA, you require the public to comment on the document. So if you go to the DOE website, sometimes you will see that there is an EIA shared. An example of it would be similar to what I just shared with you in the class folder. And there will be a time window during which the public are allowed to comment on the activities. For example, if you're not happy that there is a wetland area and you want to you're not happy with the way that the DIA is addressing the sensitivity of the wetland to some impact, some predicted impact, then you can voice out your opinion. So the public has a say in activities requiring detailed assessment. Okay, this part I will not go through too much because we already ran out of time. Sorry, I'm just going to borrow a few more minutes so that we can cover most things. It does require an EIA because it's a pulp mill, and in terms of the water, air, noise, and land pollution parameters of concern, you can find this in the document here. You find this in here. I think it was roughly presented in the TOR, if I remember correctly. Here. So if you look at description of, so these are the key environmental components, and there are description of modeling tools and assessment methodology. So some of this you've learned in hydrology, analysis of flood risk. So that is also part of an EIA. In terms of water quality, it says here that it lists some parameters that they are going to monitor, and then they will fit this into a model called MIT11. So MIT11 is a model that simulates if you put pollutant at a point, what is the fate of the pollutant after a certain distance or time. So this is very similar to your Streeter-Phelps model, but the software integrates more than just BOD and oxygen. So it's more than just BOD and its effect on dissolved oxygen. It's also nitrogen, it's also phosphate, it's also all of the other parameters that are listed here. So it has the capability to simulate if there is a certain concentration of BOD at this point, after a certain distance or a certain time, what happens to the BOD. And the model that they use inside the software is exactly the Streeter-Phelps model. And you will, if you look through the software and the codes that runs behind the software, you will find the Arrhenius equation for rate correction based on temperature. You will see the BOD decay model. So all of that is in the software. So if you want to learn the software, you have to learn a bit more than the Streeter-Phelps model, but just so that you get an awareness that it says here is going to be using a software, but it's not necessarily something that you haven't learned in class. There's a part of the software that you already got introduced to in the class. In the air pollution problem, for example, you have all of the parameters that we've seen in the class. We did not, however, learn this air pollutant dispersion model, which is similar to water quality dispersion, but involving different physics. So they use a software as well, but if you imagine that there is a BOD model for carbon monoxide, then the maths is going to be developed from the same material balance and reactions. Okay, next. 4 more minutes. I'll try to finish before 1 comes. Okay, important to also know that they will also require an EIA to conduct a health impact assessment, which means that cancer risk, for example, is estimated what is the risk, meaning what is the chance that somebody is going to suddenly, if before the development, the chance of getting cancer for a population nearby the development is 1 in 10 billion, does the proposed development increase that risk? Is it going to be suddenly 1 in 10,000? So this is based on the concentration that increase, concentration of some health pollutants that increases as a result of the proposed development. And finally, an environmental management plan is a document that has to be put together in order to specify what kind of monitoring of parameters and what kind of measures that needs to be in place. So this is kind of all of the mitigation measures specified clearly to make sure that people who are on site during the construction, during the operations of the project will continue to carry forward all of the proposal that has been outlined based on the EIA assessment. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand the EIA process. I don't have any more to add. Feel free to really study through the materials. I don't guarantee that this is an exact a good sample that has been approved. So they might have gone through multiple iterations based on DOE comments. They will also have Marine Jabatan Marine, the Marine Department commenting on this is a proposal in Kuala Lumpur. Probably the Marine will not be involved. So there will be different institutions commenting on the proposed, the EIA itself, and highlighting any parts of the potential impact that the document has failed to address. So there could have been revisions to this document that is not what you see in the folder. So with that, I end. If you have any question, let me know. Otherwise, we'll wrap up and you can take a break before your lab this afternoon. I will post a classroom link later today for uploading all of the recordings as well as the Jamboards so that we have everything in place.
Okay, then.
Alright. Nanti apa-apa all your test results I will share via classroom, also through Dr. Shazwani's group. Alright, bye.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for your 7 weeks, Doctor.
You're welcome. Hope to see you in the 4th year, maybe.
Yeah, hoping to see you.
Maybe at EPM. Bye.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. Have a nice day, Doctor.
Bye. You're welcome. All the best.